All right, let's talk about your must-haves bucket because this is where most people either make or break their budget. And I've got some news that might surprise you. Half the stuff you think is essential probably isn't. And some stuff you're not paying for definitely should be. Let me tell you about my friend Sarah. She was convinced that she was barely scraping by on essentials only. Rent, groceries, car payment, all the important stuff. But when we actually looked at her must-haves list, we found a gym membership she hadn't used in 8 months, premium cable package that cost more than most people's grocery budget, and 3 different streaming services because she might want to watch something on each. Meanwhile, she had no renter's insurance, was driving around with bald tires, and her idea of an emergency fund was $20 tucked into a secret pocket in her wallet. Let's get real about what actually counts as essential. And spoiler alert, it's probably more flexible than you think, but also includes some other things you're not thinking about. The big 4. These are your actual, no kidding, can't avoid expenses. First, housing, rent or mortgage, utilities, basic renters or homeowners insurance. Notice I said basic utilities. That means heat, electricity, and water. Probably internet because let's be honest, you probably need it to function in the modern world, but it does not mean premium cable or even cable at all. Second, transportation, your car payment, insurance, gas, basic maintenance, or public transportation costs if that's your thing. This is how you get to work so you can earn money to put money into your pockets. Let's be honest, that's pretty essential. Third, food, groceries, not restaurants. Yes, you need to eat. No, you don't need to eat out 5 times a week. We'll talk about restaurants in the lifestyle bucket where they belong. Fourth, minimum debt payments, student loans, credit cards, whatever debt you've got, you need to make those minimum payments to avoid getting into even deeper trouble. Everything else is negotiable. Now, before you start panicking about your cell phone bill or your car insurance, let me be clear. Negotiable doesn't mean unnecessary. It means you have choices about how much you spend. You need a phone, but you don't need the unlimited plan with insurance that costs more than the phone itself. You need car insurance, but you might not need premium coverage if you're driving a car that's worth less than your monthly coffee budget. Let's start with housing, because this is probably your biggest expense. The old rule was to spend no more than 30% of your income on housing. In today's world, that rule is about as realistic as expecting to buy a house with a part-time job. But here's what you can't control. You can make sure you're not paying for space or features you don't actually need. Are you paying for a 2-bedroom apartment when you're single and don't have overnight guests? Are you paying for a fancy downtown location when you work from home? Are you paying for amenities you never use? Sometimes the answer is yes, and that's okay if it's worth it to you. Just make sure it's a conscious choice, not an accidental money drain. Utilities are where you can usually find some quick wins. Call your internet provider and ask what their current promotional rates are. I guarantee you're not getting their best price. Call your phone company and ask them to review your plan. Most people are paying way more for data than they actually use. And here's a fun exercise. Look at your phone usage for the last 3 months. How much data did you actually use? How many minutes did you actually talk? I bet it's less than you think. You might be able to cut your phone bill in half just by switching to a plan that matches your actual usage instead of your imaginary usage. Transportation is tricky because you need reliability, but you don't need luxury. If you're making car payments on something that costs more per month than your grocery bill, then you need to have a conversation about whether that car is really a necessity or if it's secretly a lifestyle choice hiding in your must-haves bucket. Now, let's talk about food because this is where people get really creative with their definitions of essential. Groceries are essential. Meal delivery services are convenient, but not essential. Coffee at home is reasonable. $15 smoothies every morning is a lifestyle choice. Here's the thing about grocery budgeting. Most people either budget way too little and then blow it up by ordering takeout when they run out of groceries, or they budget way too much and use that as an excuse to buy organic everything and specialty items that they don't really need. A realistic grocery budget for one person is usually somewhere between $50 and $100 per week, depending on where you live and how you eat. That should cover actual food that you can actually cook and eat. If you're spending significantly more than that, you're probably buying convenience or luxury, not necessarily necessity. Here's a quick trick for grocery budgeting. Shop like your grandmother did. Buy ingredients, not meals. Rice, beans, pasta, chicken, vegetables, basic stuff that you can combine in different ways. It's cheaper, healthier, and more flexible than buying pre-made everything. But here's where most budgeting advice gets it wrong. They want you to cut everything to the absolute minimum and live like a monk. And that's just not sustainable in the long run. It's okay to spend a little extra on groceries if cooking is your hobby. It's okay to have a car payment if having reliable transportation reduces your stress. It's okay to live in a nicer place if it genuinely improves your quality of life. The key is being honest about what's truly essential versus what's just comfortable. And sometimes comfortable is worth paying for, you just need to account for it properly. Here's what I want you to do this week. Go through every single expense in your must-haves bucket and ask yourself 3 questions. First, what would happen if I stopped paying for this completely? Second, are there cheaper alternatives that would meet the same need? And third, is this actually essential or is it just something I really don't want to give up? Be honest with your answers. If you can't live without your premium coffee subscription, that's fine. Just move it to the lifestyle bucket where it belongs. If you really do need that expensive car because you drive for work, that's fine too. Just make sure you're not fooling yourself. The goal isn't to live like a minimalist hermit. The goal is to make sure your money is going towards things that actually matter to you instead of just flowing towards whatever happens to have automatic payments set up. Clean up your must-haves bucket, and you might be surprised at how much money you free up for fun stuff. Speaking of which, that's exactly what we're talking about next. How to budget for a life worth living without going broke. So, I'll see you in Module 4.